Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about what ammunition to stockpile for the zombie apocalypse 2022. Okay, so I already did a video a couple of weeks ago about what I think the zombie apocalypse guns should be. AR-15, 22 conversion bolt, a Glock or a Glock clone, either 17 or 19. A 9mm AR style gun like this Palmetto PX9, and a Lynx 12 semi-automatic shotgun, preferably an AK-47 style. So we're going to be talking about now how much ammunition should you have, and the starting point. This I've been saying for many years. This has not changed. Is 4,000 rounds, 5.56. It's this guy right here. Okay, preferably brass. Okay. If you can't get all brass, get at least 1,000 rounds of brass, and then get 3,000 rounds of steel case. Why so many rounds? I've always said you're going to need 2,000 rounds for practice, 2,000 rounds for reserve and to actually use. So that would definitely be the brass. You're not going to shoot that except for occasionally if you need to zero in your rifle or something like that. But ideally you want to have it all brass, okay? But you may need to build up to that, and that's fine. The first thing I'm going to say is, anytime you're buying either, buying this 5.56, 223, always buy 1,000 rounds. Okay, 1,000 rounds is very compact. Okay, this is 1,000 rounds right here. Weighs about 25 pounds. So this is very manageable. You can keep 1,000 rounds somewhat handy. You can kind of hide the other stuff. Now, one of the things to keep in mind with ammunition stockpiling is, in an end-of-the-world type of situation, ammunition is going to become currency. Okay, the money in your pockets, either the paper money in your pocket or the electronic money in your bank account. That's all useless. You have to be able to barter, right, for things that you need. And ammunition is very compact and very valuable. Okay, so that would make a perfect form of currency. Okay, so if you need some things that you don't have, or you need some either goods or services, you can trade ammunition for that. So that's why you definitely want to have way more ammunition than you think you're gonna need. So when I say 4,000 rounds of 5.56, 223, that's just a starting point. Ideally, you want to build up to 10,000 rounds. But if you don't have that much, start with 1,000 rounds. Okay. Never buy less than 1,000 rounds at a time. It's just a lot more economical. You get you get it at a discount by buying that bulk. You save on the shipping. So always buy 1,000 rounds of 223, okay? And like I said, it's going to become a very valuable trading commodity, right? You can barter with it. It's basically currency, okay? Now, right here, I've got 22 long rifle, okay? This, I always buy 5,000 rounds at a time. With buying 5,000 rounds of 223, I used to get it for like $150. Now, the last time I bought it, I think I had paid it $500. Now I think it came down to $300. Get 5,000 rounds at a time, okay? And here's the thing: you're going to be using it with this 22 conversion bolt and this conversion magazine that goes into your regular AR-15. It's very economical that way, okay? I used to have a Ruger 1022 on this table that came off because first of all, I have found that these two things, this 22 conversion bolt and this 22 conversion magazine, that I think is the Black Dog style, although this one's made by CMMG, which is a lot tougher, a lot more rugged. I have found that this is a lot more reliable, easier to clean than the Ruger 1022 that used to be on this table in prior years. Okay, this is way, I absolutely hated trying to take apart a Ruger 1022. This comes apart really easy, easy to clean. Okay, so at least 5,000 rounds of that. Build up to 15,000 rounds of that. Again, this is You know, this is something that you can use to trade, especially if you need something small, you know, because, you know, maybe you don't want to trade away, you know, your larger cartridges for something that's minor. Like, let's say you want to buy a couple of eggs or something, right? You know, you don't want to be trading 5.56 for eggs. You know, maybe trade, you know, a couple of 22. Trade some 22 for that. Okay. This is going to be the 22 long rifle is going to be a great round for the type of animals that you are likely to be hunting, which is going to be small rodents. Mice, rats, squirrels, rabbits. Okay, those you're going to be hunting with the 22 long rifle, because if you try to hunt those small animals with 5.56, 2.23, you're gonna damage the animal too much, where you're not gonna have that much meat left over for you to eat. Okay, so anytime you can hunt with a 22, you definitely want to use that for hunting purposes. Of course, you'll also, with 5,000 rounds, you'll also be able to do a little bit of practice, right? Because the nice thing is, this 22 conversion goes into your standard 5.56 AR, and you can actually practice with this gun more frequently, and you don't have to dig into your 5.56 ammunition. Okay. Now, moving on, the next thing I would recommend after those two things, right? Your 5.56 and your 2.23, those go first. Get 4,000 rounds of this. Get 5,000 rounds of that. And that's kind of like the priority I would give to it too, right? The next most important thing, 9mm. Okay. Now, in prior years, before I had the 9mm AR on the table, right? All we had was the 9mm pistol. I would say you only needed about 500 rounds, okay? Maybe 1,000 rounds at most. Things have changed now, okay? Because you got two guns on this table that shoot 9mm, and this one over here is capable of hitting targets out to 200 yards, okay? I'm gonna say build up to 4,000 rounds if you can, okay? Now, between these two guns, because normally the pistol is your backup gun to your rifle, okay? But between these two guns, especially if you live in an area where you've got lots of woods, where you don't expect to be shooting long distances, you wouldn't have to twist my arm too hard. If you were to tell me, hey, listen, right now, I have a 9mm AR, I can't get a 5.56. These are the two guns that I'm going into the zombie apocalypse with. I'm gonna say, okay, I think you'll be okay with that, So you would not have to twist my arm too hard to get me to agree that maybe you can just get by on these two guns. Okay, so I didn't feel that way a couple of years ago. I've done a lot of shooting with this gun right over here. This one's got about 10,000 rounds on it. The gun's very reliable. You do have to test it out. Like in this one over here, this came standard with a 4-ounce buffer weight. I put an 8-ounce in there. It made the gun a lot more reliable. So you definitely have to test this out. But I think that you could possibly get by with these two guns if you live in an area where you really don't expect to be shooting past 200 yards, which is pretty much my situation here. I mean, if you look at all the trees here, you really can't see past 100 yards. In order for me to shoot 200 yards here, I had to actually cut out a path. I had to cut down the line of trees so I could shoot out to 200 yards. Okay, so I'm kind of iffy on that. It wouldn't be hard for me to agree to, yeah, fine, maybe you can just go with the 9mm. But preferably you would want the 5.56 because you can reach out a little bit further. You can get out to 500 yards and then maybe a little bit more than that. Okay. One of the nice things about this Palmetto PX9 is the trigger group, which is the part that's likely to wear out, usually on either gun, either AR-15 or this 9mm AR. I have usually worn out the trigger group by the time I get to 10,000 rounds. Just AR trigger groups, they're meant to be worn, to wear out. They're light. I think they only expect to go up to about 5,000 rounds. So as you go past that, you'll probably get past that, but certainly by the time you get to 10,000 rounds, you've worn it out. The same trigger group goes in both of these guns, okay? Which is good, because if you don't have a 5.56 AR, you just got this. If you do wear out your trigger group, you can trade with somebody to get the trigger group that you need. As far as the bolt's very solid. It doesn't have the rotating bolt like the AR-15 does, which is, there's more parts in that can break. The only part that can break in here really is the firing pin and the extractor. I've broken both. Again, around, when you get up to that 10,000 round range, the extractor in this bolt is the same as the extractor that goes into your AR-15. Okay, so it's got the same extractor. The only thing that you got to make sure you got extra of that you probably won't be able to get from anybody else is the firing pin, and there's also a firing pin spring. Okay, so make sure you got that. But M-lock system on both of them. All the M-lock stuff goes on both guns. Okay, so we said 4,000 rounds of the 5.56, 4,000 rounds of the 9mm, 5,000 rounds of 223, preferably more. Again, we're thinking about being able to trade in the future. Let's go to the shotgun. Now with shotgun, that's a really interesting discussion. Of course, let's take a look over here. 1,000 rounds of 5.56 223, weighs about 25 pounds. Right now, it's going for somewhere between $315 to $350. Let's say $350 to ship it. Okay, 9mm, same deal, about $350. You can see 1,000 rounds here, 1,000 rounds here, 22. You can see how compact that is. I haven't bought this in a while, but it's probably somewhere around $300 right now. It's not going to be the $500 that I had paid at some point in 2020. It's going to probably be somewhere around $300. I don't expect it to be at $150, but $300 you'll probably be able to find that. So 1,000 rounds, okay? Nice and light, compact. This is really easy. 25 pounds, 25 pounds. Each of these 1,000 pounds. Let's get to the 12 gauge, okay? Okay, this box here has 250 shells of 12 gauge. That's a 2 3/4 bird shot, okay? So you can see how, first of all, this is the biggest box on this table, okay? And it has the least amount of rounds. It only has 250 rounds in here. So this is really not economical in the sense of, more in terms of weight and space, okay? So, it was really a struggle to keep the 12 gauge on that table, okay? But I felt that it needed to be there because there are certain animals that you're going to be able to hunt with a 12 gauge that you can't hunt with the other guns. Like basically a fast-moving animal, like a bird that's flying through the air or a rabbit that's running. The 12 gauge with birdshot gives you that ability. I'm less concerned with the type of animals that you would be hunting, let's say with a with buckshot, like let's say turkey, right? Turkey, I mean, there's turkey around here. They mostly sit on the ground or they sit up in the tree. You can hunt those with a 22, okay? So I wouldn't use my 12 gauge to hunt something like turkey. If there's an animal that I can hunt with 22, I would prefer to use a 22 that I got more of compared to using my 12 gauge. Because 12 gauge, like I got 250 rounds here. I mean, I would recommend you have at least 500 rounds of this. It's hard for me to tell you to have 4,000 rounds of this because now you're going to have a pile up here. Remember, I already got 75 pounds on this table with just these 3 boxes, right? They're about 25 pounds each. So you're going to have a very limited amount of 12 gauge. So I would say get 1,000 rounds of 12 gauge bird shot so that you can hunt birds, which there are lots of birds out there, small birds, right? Rabbits, things that run fast. Get some buckshot, get some slugs. The nice thing about the shotgun is versatile like that. So if you've got a box of slugs, now in this area here, I don't have any large animals like moose or something, but in the future you might have other large animals that migrate into this area. So yeah, I would definitely keep, let's say, one box. Let's say I think let's say 25 rounds of slugs or 50 rounds of slug, right? Or maybe another 50 rounds of buckshot. Which I'm going to conserve. I mean, I don't want to use that up. I want to use the birdshot, which I also have a limited amount with, right? And as much as possible, I'd rather use the other rounds to hunt those things. Now, speaking of hunting, I want to go back to the 9mm for a second. Okay, this 9mm rifle also has the potential to be a very important hunting gun. Okay, let me explain why. I didn't mention it in the prior video. In an end of the world type of situation, right? There's going to be lots of human corpses, right? There's going to be lots of bodies in the road, right? Lots of corpses, and the now domesticated dogs and cats are going to be eating those corpses. Okay, so they're going to be eating them, and they're going to be multiplying because they've got a food source, right? They're going to be multiplying a lot faster than the deer. The deer are all going to disappear, right? You're not going to be hunting deer. The deer are going to get wiped out really quickly. The few that survive are going to go high in the mountains, deep in the woods. And plus, like for example, the people that have land, they're not going to let you go hunt on their land, right? End of the world apocalypse, you better believe I am not letting anybody come hunt my land, right? I'm going to protect my animals, right? That's my food source. That's not somebody else's food source, okay? So don't think that you're going to, even if you're able to escape the cities, right? Let's say you're able to escape the cities, which you're probably not going to get too far because you're going to run out of gas within 300 miles, right? And here's the thing: if you don't run it, even if you've got 300 miles worth of gas in your tank, the other people on the road are not going to have that much gas. So, within probably the first 100 miles or less, 50 miles, you're going to have people starting to run out of fuel. And as those people run out of fuel on the roads, they're just going to basically, those cars are going to block the roads. And you're just going to be sitting in your car, running your engine until you run out of gas. Okay, so you're not going to get too far. But even if you're in a city and you were able to escape to the countryside, now like when you go on a holiday now to the countryside, sure, they welcome you with loving arms, right? They want your business. But in an end of the world apocalypse, they're not going to want you in the countryside, right? They're gonna probably destroy the bridges that so you can't get to the countryside. And even if you get to the countryside, they're not going to let you hunt their land. Okay, so just this is one of the things that people don't consider. They think they're just going to escape somewhere else. There's no place else to go because there's people over there that are trying to survive too. So anyway, what I was getting at, and I kind of got sidetracked, end of the world apocalypse, right? All these people that are trying to escape the cities, they're starving on the roadside, killing each other. You got corpses all over the roads, right? The dogs are going to eat them. The cats are going to eat them. They're going to start multiplying, right? That's going to become a primary food source for a very long period of time. And 9mm is very capable of hunting dogs and cats, okay? Like you wouldn't want to hunt an animal that large with 22, right? That's just going to wound the animal and it's going to run away, and it's just a waste. The 9mm is capable of dropping it. I wouldn't want to use my 5.56 because that's kind of I don't want to waste that ammunition. So the 9mm is a very good hunting round for a end of the world situation where you've got dogs and cats breeding, and that's a very likely food source. Okay, so something to keep in mind. Another thing that's worth mentioning: before you starve to death, okay, you're probably if this time of year you're gonna freeze to death. Right, you're not gonna get too far in this type of weather. There's nights here where it goes to -5 degrees. Okay, I gotta tell you guys, if there was an end of the world type of situation and it happened in January, where we are right now, okay, people are going to, like, you're going to have like a 90% die-off, okay? People are going to start freezing within a month. What they're going to do is, like, most of the houses, including houses in the countryside, they don't have chimneys where you can burn firewood, okay? So what they're going to do is they're going to start trying to burn furniture and stuff like that, and they're going to set fire. People are going to set fire to their houses, right? And basically they're going to set fire to the houses. They don't burn inside their houses. They're going to leave their houses. They're going to go outdoors, and then they're going to freeze outside, right? Because now they don't have shelter. You cannot build stuff. You can't really work outdoors when it's like -10 degrees. I mean, because there's just certain things that you need to do without gloves. And even if you got gloves on, believe me, once your fingers start numbing up, you can't do much work, okay? So, end of the world type of situation happens in the middle of the winter. People are going to freeze to death before they start starving to death. Another thing that people don't realize, you can't just cut down trees and throw them into the fire because they got water inside, right? Before lumber goes into the fire, it usually needs to be dried out for about a year. Okay, so you're not just going to be able to cut down trees and throw those into the fire. That's not how lumber works. Okay, so a couple things for you guys to think about, and drop some comments below. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys have different numbers in mind, let me know. But my numbers are 4,000 rounds 5.56, 5,000 rounds 223, 4,000 rounds 9mm, and 1,000 rounds 12 gauge birdshot. Obviously, you're gonna when you get to that point, end of the world, you're gonna want to hide most of your ammo. You know, bury it. You know, and just pull out a little bit at a time. And like I said, this is gonna become currency. You're gonna need this to trade with people. Okay, your money is gonna be worth absolutely nothing. It's pretty much worth almost nothing now. Anyway, so drop some comments below. If you're not a member of the channel, subscribe. I'll talk to you all soon. And hit that bell button so you get the notification. Sometimes YouTube shadow bans me. They don't send out the notifications otherwise.